why we put the load date and high date is, if there is something like an expiry date, for example, for a customer, what is the expiry date? You have to put an high date. You don't know when he is going to die, right? So that is just for fun. Just humorously I'm telling you. But you require this high date because, let us say, when you are staying in a location, currently you are in maybe an address 74321 Shelter Creek Lane, San Bruno 94066. You have a start date and end date when you started in that address, but you will not know the end date until you vacate the home. So you will always put a high date saying he is going to stay there forever. But when he changes, again, that's a story. You end that date and start his new address with a new date. That is fine, we'll look at it, but we are trying to put it into global variables so that we can make use of it. Finally comes the important part, the flat file. When you have a flat file as a source, I am trying to identify if the flat file is a source. If I pass a file name, global variable flat file underscore name, if it gets a value, then I am saying the source, if that is null, I am saying the source is not a flat file. If it is not null, if you pass a value to it, a file name to it, then you are saying the source file name is sales001 is the source file name. And then you are printing values of it, the file size, what is the delimiter of the file. You have more items that you can capture about the file. So you are writing a custom function so that when you run the job, it will actually print about the file. So this is all about the initialization script. Any questions on the initialization script, guys? Do not try to understand every part of it, but do you understand what all we can do with an initialization script? You can even write a SQL statement here. You can connect to a database, write a SQL statement like this. This is also possible. You will put a data store name here, edw underscore aura, and you will write select star from emp. This is also possible. You can write a SQL statement and then you'll have to put it into a variable. Only then it can print that value what is coming from that SQL statement. Instead of select star from, let us say, DEPT number from DEPT, where DEPT name is equal to sales. Just for example I am giving. This is only an example. It doesn't make any sense for us to pull a department number, but we are saying this is how I can write a statement in the script. You can do anything in the script. You can even run a batch file. You can run a shell script from here. You can run a job itself as a shell script. Yes, that is also possible. You can export the job as a Unix script and run it from this flat file, the script functionality in here. Everything is possible, and you can use almost all kinds of functions here. For example, what are all the functions you can see in data services? See here, you have hundreds of functions. You can use any of these functions wherever it is relevant. You can use them part of your script. That is permitted. You can convert you can convert a date into a different format. You can convert a number into a character. You can do a substring. Every function, whatever you are seeing, almost 99% of the functions are permitted only in a script. They cannot be permitted at some other places, but they are all permitted in the script. So a script is kind of a white page for you. You want to make it dirty? Yes, make it. However you want it to do, how many ever colors you want it to do, you can use it. No one restricts you. Finally, you can claim it as modern art because no one can understand your script if you use too many colors and contrast it, right? Any questions on script, guys? Shell scripting, when I say, see, the shell scripting, you cannot write a shell script here. you can actually execute a shell script. For example, you have a command called as execute. See here, you can execute a file from here. So the file can be a shell script. You can say execute a file name .sh from here. Yes, it can. But you cannot write a shell script here. This is not a scripting language. The script here I am talking about is you can call a script inside data services. You cannot write a shell script. You cannot write a batch file inside the script option or functionality in data services. All you can do is you can execute. You can write a SQL statement here, but you will have to pass it and it executes only on the database. Okay, it is metadata, it is not the data. That is the difference. You can run a SQL statement, you can run a PL SQL procedure from here, but you cannot write a PL SQL procedure here. Still you will have to write it on the database. And for example, before we take it off, let me show you this. See, this is my data store, logical representation of my database. This is the select statement I am putting here. But do you think this select statement is going to execute in data services? The answer is no. Data services will pass a command to this particular database to execute this command. Select department number from so and so table. The output of it will be passed back to the data services and we are going to store into this particular variable saying this is the department number that is being answered from the query. So do not get confused. It is not a scripting language. First thing, it is neither a programming language. Other important thing, all you can use this white paper is to call something from any other language. You can execute a shell script, you can execute a batch file, you can execute an SQL statement, a PL SQL statement, or you can use any of the inbuilt functions of data services or call a custom function. Everything is you are going to call from here, but you are not going to use data services to write that function. Did you understand that? So is it clear or I can add more if you want? Do you need more clarity or is it suffice for now? There is no script file that will be provided by data services. You have to write your own script. All how you write your tool script, your script is you have something called as a tool palette. The right hand side, whatever you see, this is called as a tool palette. Whether you want to do a workflow, data flow, a conditional, an ABAP flow or a script, you can do it from here. All you'll have to do is click on that, come to the workplace and then click on here so that a script opens up here. By default, it will give a script number. You can always rename that script. And if you get inside, it is only a white page. There is nothing in it. And are there any definite rules that will be given to you? There is no syntax guidance. It is a very minimum syntax that you are going to put everything in here. You can write an if then else statement. You can write a case statement. Everything is permitted here. But if the syntax wise it is not acceptable for it, it is going to throw you an error and you will have to come back and fix that part of the script. Okay. But today we are going to run our job even without the script. Whatever I have shown up to now is not usable by you unless you are going to going to go to a client location and say, suppose like I have 5 years of experience in data services. I'm going to build a job for you. Only at that point you want all this. If you wanted to only move data from source to target, forget about all this. We are going to move it right away. Without any of this, I'm going to do it. And other important thing, which I will be showing you in a moment. If you see the same workflow initialize script is available in more than one jobs. If you see all these three jobs has the same WF initialize script. But if I go and see in the workflows, I have only 2 of them. I don't have 10 of them, or 3 of them. It is showing you how many times they are used, and so I call them as reusable objects. There are 3 places where we use this. If you right click and say find where used, view where used, see it is showing this particular workflow is in all these three jobs. That is the purpose of a reusable script. If I do it as a script instead of a workflow, you will not see any script here. Script is not an object in data services. Script is just an white paper. The white paper is more relevant only in your particular job. It cannot talk to the external job. But a workflow is not your own property. It is kind of a library. Anyone can use this workflow any number of times. After you build 100 jobs, you will see this particular workflow would have been used 100 times. And what is the purpose of putting it in a workflow is anytime if we find a defect, if we find a bug in this particular initialization script, if you change at one place, it is going to be implied in every job. Is that understandable? The reusability of it? Guys, does it make sense, or any confusion, concern? Guys, your silence is violent. Perfect. Perfect. Yes. Yes. So it may any workflow is a uh-huh. Uh-huh. Any project. It can be used across the repository. It is independent of a job. You can use the same script in any project, any job, anywhere. The one other limitation, script cannot be called inside a data flow, because data flow is the real happening thing. You see here I am in a data flow, the script is already grayed out. So that's a limitation. You can use the script in a workflow but not inside a data flow. That is by rule it is like that. Is that okay? So whatever you see here, whichever are grayed out, you cannot use. You cannot use a transformation directly at the job level. You can use any transformation only inside a data flow. See, I am pulling out a data flow here. If I go inside the data flow, only then these are highlighted. The query transform, the template table, the template XML, everything is active only when I get into the data flow. If I am outside the data flow, if I delete the C, these are all grayed out. You cannot use all the transformations at the job level. Transformations are possible only in the data flow, because transformation means you are working with data. If you are trying to put out some logic saying a flowchart, if this condition is satisfied, do this. If it is not satisfied, do something else. For that you will use these conditionals. A while loop is a conditional. It can run saying run the same job for 100 times. Saying if you are a mathematics student, you'll say